Hello everyone and welcome back to Very Cold Lasagna. I am your filthy casual host with all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports, DylanLasagna. And we are here with another weekly recap of the 2022 NFL season. And week 4 has all but wrapped up, and we are on the cusp of week 5, which we'll be talking about this coming week. So week 4, most certainly an interesting one, much more interesting than the previous week before that, week 3. But it kind of started off on a very sour note, but the games after that at least tried to get us out of it. So let's talk about all these games that happened. So starting with the Thursday Night Football game only on Amazon Prime Video, the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Miami Dolphins 27-15, but that whole game just completely overshadowed by the fact that Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffered his second concussion in just 5 days. After taking another scary hit to the head in the second quarter. He had to get stretchered out, and he was taken to the hospital, and then later in the evening was already discharged. And he flew back with the Miami Dolphins the next day. So, man, I mean, sure, he's already been ruled out for the Week 5 game against the New York Jets as the NFL and the NFL Players Association continue to investigate. He was also interviewed by the league and by the Players Association about his concussions, but the Dolphins just look bad. They look very bad for clearing Tua in such quick time for that during that Bills game, and in such they just rushed him in such short order. Like you don't know what he's going. We don't know what he's going through mentally, or physically, for that matter, suffering through those 2 concussions in that short amount of time. So, I hope he's doing healthy. I hope he's doing well. I hope he fully recovers. And I hope they don't rush him back. I really don't, because if they do, man, it's not only going to affect their season, as if it's probably going to already, but it might. They're probably going to F up his career even further if they try to rush him back again. So, yikes. So going to the Sunday slate of games, starting with the early morning portion, down in London, starting in London, mate. The Minnesota Vikings barely survive a comeback from the New Orleans Saints via a double doink from their kicker, Will Lutz. So it barely almost made it in, but man, that double doink off the upright just missed the mark as the Vikings held off the Saints 28-25. Younghoe Koo for the Atlanta Falcons made a clutch field goal, 2 of them, as the Atlanta Falcons beat the Cleveland Browns 23-20. The Ravens dominated the first half of the game with Lamar Jackson in the offense, taking advantage of the Bills' early miscues for a 20-3 advantage. But much like their game against the Dolphins in week 2, they couldn't close the door. They allowed Josh Allen and the offense to score 20 unanswered points since that stretch for a big win for the Bills and another backbreaker for the Baltimore Ravens, 23-20. The Ravens, you got to learn to hold your leads, man. Got to learn to hold your leads. This game was surprisingly close at the first half, but it wasn't. The relentless Cowboys pass rush finally got to Commander Carson Wentz as the Washington Commanders felt the rush in Cooper's Cowboys, who broke it open in the fourth quarter to seal the deal 25-10. The Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions surprisingly got into a shootout. And even DK Metcalf had to go to the bathroom in this game. So the Seahawks beat the Detroit Lions in this surprising shootout game, 48-45. The LA Clippers avenged their clippering against the Houston Texans from last year off the backs of a bolstering defense and 2 Austin Eckler first half touchdowns to beat the Texans 34-24. The Tennessee Titans jumped out to an early 14-0 advantage, and they extended that lead even further, but they kept digging around in the second half, and they had to hold off the Indianapolis Colts, but managed to survive 24-17. While the offense did play better this week for the Chicago Bears, it still remained the same old story of Bears football. As another standout performance from Saquon Barkley and a solid bounce from Daniel Jones propelled the Giants to a win, 20-12. The all-elite Jacksonville Jaguars jumped out to an early 14-point lead in Doug Peterson's return to Philadelphia. But ball security would be the story of the game for Trevor Lawrence. And his 5 fumbles would be a difference maker for the Philadelphia Eagles to come back in this game. Miles Sanders had a good day on the ground as the Eagles came back to beat the Jaguars 29-21 in a pretty good game. Plenty to learn for Trevor Lawrence. I guess it took getting Philly special and another signature Nickelodeon MVP performance from Mitch Trubisky for Mike Tomlin to finally get that slap in the face, to finally cross the picket line and put Kenny Pickett in. But while the offense looked more explosive, it just wasn't enough. Returning Zach Wilson led a late comeback to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-20. At least the Pittsburgh Steelers will at least look a little bit more dynamic with Kenny Pickett under center. So going to the late afternoon slate of games, the Arizona Cardinals beat the Carolina Panthers by taking advantage of their self-inflicted mistakes to beat them 26-16. The Patriots may have lost their backup Brian Hoyer to a head injury, but their defense and their third stringer by the name of Bailey Zappi, am I pronouncing that right? They somehow made life difficult for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. They made them sweat, surprisingly. They even got a pick 6 on Aaron Rodgers to close out the first half. They made this thing relatively close and held a lead on 2 different occasions. So this game even went to overtime, but they took it down the stretch. Mason Crosby sealed the deal with a game-winning field goal in a game the Packers clearly overlooked, but they managed to survive 27-24 in overtime. The Raiders got a big day out of Josh Jacobs and Max Crosby on both ends, and the Raiders get their first win of the season over their division rival Denver Broncos, 32-23. If I'm the Denver Broncos right now, you gotta wonder what the heck Russell Wilson is cooking, and it's surely not a good ass burrito. Going to the Sunday night football game, the Kansas City Chiefs avenged their Super Bowl 55 loss against Tom Brady and the Bucs with an offensive masterclass in limiting Tom Brady and company. They beat them 41-31, but don't let that score fool you twice. Then in the Monday night closer for week 4, just like last year, the 49ers went to a game that I predicted they were going to get smoked by their most hated rival and whooped the Rams blue and yellow candy asses 24-9, thanks to a bounced attack of their strong defense and a solid showing from Jimmy G and the offense. They beat the Rams 24-9. So that was your games for week number 4. Now let's talk about some winners and losers for this week. Starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. They were out for blood on Sunday night, and that's exactly what they got out of the gate. They looked excellent in their Super Bowl 55 rematch against the Tampa Bay Bucs. Their offensive line, which was the story in that Super Bowl, that was injury-riddled, but this offensive line in that game on Sunday properly protected Patrick Mahomes, and that allowed him to not only spread the ball around to everyone besides Travis Kelce, but also make some ridiculous plays, especially that second quarter play where he was just laying it up to Clyde Edwards-Helaire for that touchdown to extend the lead to, I think it was like 21-3 by that point. Like, damn. Like, love or hate Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I certainly have a love-hate relationship with him because, he beat the Niners in the Super Bowl, but damn, this dude's fucking crazy. And then the Chiefs defense, they took advantage of the weakened Bucs offensive line and put some serious heat on Tom Brady that either sacked him or forced him to check down the ball. So they did what they set out to do in this game. not only, bounce back from their week 3 loss to the Colts, but exact some revenge on Tom Brady and the Bucs for what they did in that Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys, sure, yeah, like ever since they lost Dak Prescott in week 1 for a couple weeks, they've been a 0-1 Cincinnati Bengals at the time, who were still trying to find their way. And then since then, they've been a mid and delusional Giants team, 2-0 Giants team. And recently, they've been a very bad Washington Commanders team that's probably projected to qualify for a top 5 pick at this point. But hey, they're 3-1 somehow without Dak Prescott. And that's in large part to the relentless pass rush with DeMarcus Lawrence, Chauncey Goldston, and now they have a strategy of putting their linebacker, Micah Parsons, at the line. And he has been dynamic in that role. And then on offense, surprisingly, their backup, Cooper Rush, has stepped up big. He has just been slinging the ball to CeeDee Lamb, and then on Sunday, Michael Gallup. And then the rushing attack of Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott has been striking, and especially Tony Pollard. He's been playing. He's even playing better than Ezekiel Elliott, who's getting the big back contract. So, goddamn, the Cowboys are 3-1. I mean, they're still well behind the Philadelphia Eagles. So the big test comes in LA against the Rams next week. But I mean, they could surprise people. They could still surprise people next week, considering how Dallas has played so far and the way that the Rams just got their asses whooped on Monday night. And then my other winners of the week are not a specific team, but a set of players, young quarterbacks. It's just a reminder in week 4 that, with the way that Mitch Trubisky was benched for Kenny Pickett, that whether it's the rookie or the second-year quarterbacks, you got to let them play. You have to let these young lions roar. Sure, they'll make their mistakes, unlike Kenny Pickett did coming off the bench, or like Trevor Lawrence with his 5 fumbles. But sure, they go through this. They make these mistakes, and sure, like if they can't fix them, then yeah, it becomes a problem. But especially for rookies, the more you keep them on the bench, like especially when you draft these drafted quarterbacks, like the less experience that they're gonna get, and the more prone they'll be to repeating those mistakes. Only by playing in real-time action and having that practical experience can they learn something and also make and learn from those mistakes. Find a way to adapt from that. So guys like Trevor Lawrence, guys like Kenny Pickett and Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and whoever has gotten drafted in the last year or 2 or so, like, who knows if they'll be a franchise player or an elite quarterback, like long term. But if you don't or didn't let them play from the at the jump, like what were they gonna learn? Like what were they gonna learn? So at least in week 4, we got to see the young lions roar. Now in terms of the losers, the Baltimore Ravens are like clearly the biggest losers of the week. Their offense, like there's no question that they are dynamic. I mean, Lamar Jackson is playing like a madman, wanting a fat ass contract. Mark Andrews, he's one of the top 3 tight ends alongside Travis Kelce and George Kittle. And then receiving core, I mean, you still have a little bit of questions about Duvernay, Rashad Bateman, and others. And then as he continues to get healthy, J.K. Dobbins will soon get integrated. So their offense, still coming together. But they've already blown 2 big leads like they're the Atlanta Falcons. So for as aggressive as they are offensively, the defense in the second half just can't keep up its end of the bargain. I mean, sure, Lamar Jackson and the offense have their faults, but they can't do everything to close out the game. And that's where John Harbaugh comes in. He needs to have his defensive coordinator come up with a better game plan for his defense for the whole game. And Harbaugh himself needs to stop getting cute. Why does he keep insisting on going for it on 4th down at the goal line? Did he not learn for what happened last year against the Packers? Was it also against the Rams where he went for it on 4th down and that cost him the game too? Like, you have Justin Tucker there for a reason. Like, fuck the analytics. Like, there's a difference between being tied 20 and all and being up 23 to 20. And sure, Tyler Bass would have sent it to overtime, but it would have been better, like, to trust in your defense than being tied and then having Tyler Bass end you with an L. So, yikes. Baltimore, get it together. The Denver Broncos, who really need to get it together. So, I thought, in the first half that the offense is going to, like, finally unlock its potential under Russell Wilson. But, yeah, I guess that was only for the first half. I mean, they looked good. Russell Wilson, finally getting those passes in to Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, who was their other receiver? Like Hilton? I don't remember his names. Javonte Williams, a clear bell cow of that running game. And then the second half happened, and most of a good portion of the first half happened. He took a lot of ill-advised sacks from Max Crosby. The running game got lost when they lost Javonte Williams to a knee injury, and then now he's gone for the season with the torn ACL. And then now they'll have to turn to Melvin Gordon, who has been on a downturn lately, especially considering that he gave up a fumble return for a touchdown. So Nathaniel Hackett's got to find a way to get his offense firing, because maybe he'll be the one that gets fired towards season's end if this keeps going. And then the LA Rams. It's one thing that the injuries continue to pile up for the reigning defending undisputed Super Bowl champions from last season. It's another thing that even though you got the biggest win of all against them, to get that Super Bowl title, to even get to that point, for whatever reason, you still can't buy a regular season win over your most hated rival, who continues to keep plastering your ass, especially on a Monday night for the second straight year. So what are the Rams doing? Like, do the Rams come prepared for a game plan against the 49ers? Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's like, sure, they beat the Niners in the biggest game in this rivalry, the NFC Championship, where it really mattered most. But when it comes to the regular season, they're just like kryptonite. They are just kryptonite, just like until to this point, Tom Brady's kryptonite with the Bucs was the Saints at the time when he first joined the NFC South. So in this game in particular, this game was alarming for LA. They over-relied on Cooper Kupp, and the offense looked seriously one-dimensional because Allen Robinson couldn't get open, and as a result, he couldn't get targeted. Skoranek was a non-factor, and aside from Tyler Higbee, no one was really doing anything. And the run game couldn't get going because the Niners defense was so strong. And then the Rams defense just got ghosted. Especially they found the Niners defense, offensive line, mind you. Aaron Donald, once again, just got shut down. Bobby Wagner, nowhere to be seen aside from the fact that he was too busy, rightfully, helping security take down a protester for whatever reason, was stupid enough to do that act. So for the LA Rams, like, what do you do to fix this problem? Like, how do you fix a broken offensive line? What do you do to fix a broken offense? I don't know if Van Jefferson on the receiving end is your glue that fixes it, because things don't get any easier for the Rams with the suddenly hot Cowboys coming up this week. And then a couple weeks later, you get a pre-Halloween rematch with the 49ers on the docket. And then after that, you go to Tampa to face the Bucs. So if they continue to get exposed like they did on Monday night, their repeat chances are going to swirl down the toilet real fast. So for my hurry-up game this week, we're going to continue to talk about the Miami Dolphins' failure to properly check on Tua Tagovailoa, how they failed to properly have him go through the concussion protocol, because like how did they mess this up? Why did they even like rush him back out there? It really now looks like out of desperation. Like like I was wrong for like I'm willing to admit I was wrong for like clearly looking aside of the fact that Tua was somehow back out there not having a concussion, because looking back at it, it really it looked like he did, with that hard hit to the back of the head. Now he has a second concussion in 5 days, and it just looks like it looks really severe. So I mean, sure, now he's okay, but how okay is he? I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm not a medical expert, but all I could say is that he should not have been on the field. He should not have been allowed to go back in that game against the Bills. He shouldn't have gone back or been allowed to play in the game against the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 4. Like, you could have sacrificed the game on Thursday night on a short week to the Bengals. Like, it would have been beneficial for Tua to sit out that game, because long term, your team was doing so well. Mike McDaniel's team was doing so well. They had playoff aspirations, and now Tua's concussed again. He's out for the Week 5 game against the Jets, and maybe even beyond that, because they wanted to get greedy. And I like Mike McDaniel as the coach so far, but damn, his coaching staff, his medical team, and I'm not saying that McDaniel had any involvement in it, but it's kind of disappointing how they cleared him so fast. They rushed him back so fast. So it just kind of sucks how we got to this point with Tua. Now, I can only say my opinion, because there's no definitive answer on what his health is. So this is a situation to monitor going forward. Hopefully Tua is okay, like really okay. Like, he's like, he doesn't like have any serious concussion symptoms. But all I can say on this matter is that all the parties involved, especially the Dolphins, and some of the coaching staff, the medical team, and even the NFL, they failed Tua when it came to this matter. They really failed him. So those are my thoughts. That was my recap of Week 4 of the 2022 NFL season. And let me know your thoughts on this past week in the NFL. So coming soon will be my picks, my preview for Week 5 of the 2022 season. So stay tuned for that here on Very Cold Lasagna. So that is, of course, me, DylanLasagna, signing out of Very Cold Lasagna with more filthy casual takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports coming soon your way. And until next time, peace out.